Okay, so you got your copper wire. You can get this from Bunnings. And the picture hanging wire is copper. Cut off a length. You want to wrap it clockwise around something. Your finger would work, but I use this little handle of a screwdriver. Wrap it around 2, 3, 4 times. A roll of that wire is about $6 at Bunnings. A whole bunch of them. Quartz crystal. Nice quartz points. Natural quartz is better. You can get decent amounts for a decent price on eBay. Just make sure they're not selling you glass. Some of the places sell you glass. Copper shreds. I just pull this out of electric cord. Sometimes I've just bought an extension cord and pulled the copper out. You can go to a scrap place and get it from there. Metal shavings. That's bronze on the left and aluminum on the right. Aluminum turnings. You can also cut up old drink cans. I just do this when I'm watching YouTube vids, keep the hands busy. Cooking oil spray for your mold, which is, I use a muffin pan. Your resin from Bunnings. A kilo of that is about $42, $43. It comes in a green tin and a blue tin. You can use either. I prefer the blue tin because the green tin stuff is pure fiberglass. It's very toxic, and you have to leave the pucks sitting out for quite a while. Catalyst, hardener. For a kilo of resin, if it's a really hot day, you can use less. If it's a really cold day, you need more. As a rough guide, on a sort of mild day, maybe 140 drops. On a really hot day, you might use 130. On a really cold day, you want a fair bit more. Otherwise, it takes a long time to cure. You'll notice different jugs because the batch I made today, the camera was sitting at a bad angle, so I had to use some old footage to show you the steps of the process. Mix up your catalyst. The resin will turn a little green. I pour a little bit in the bottom of each mold. I do this if they're pieces people are likely to handle, like for home protection. If they're pieces people are going to bury outside, I don't usually bother with that. But don't want metal poking out the top if I can avoid it. After you pour your first layer of resin in, put a little layer of metal in, then put your coil in and put your crystals inside the coil. If they're small crystals, use 2 or 3. I like these little chunky quartz pieces. If it's a nice big crystal, 1 should suffice. Inside the loose copper coil. A loose coil is better, but you can also just wrap the coil clockwise around the crystal itself in a tight coil. But a loose coil is definitely better. I put my copper shreds around the coil and the crystal. I just dump them on around there. I do spike myself quite often with this. If you want to avoid that, wear some gloves. It's going to be a messy process. You can see the mess. It's easy, but it can be messy. You've got to be careful handling this metal. You also don't want to make this inside, even in a garage. There's fumes from this resin. And those can make you giddy and a little nauseous. So after you cover the crystal up with more metal shavings, don't pack it right down, just let the metal sit loose and then fill the tray up with resin. Submerge it all until all the metal's covered. The resin will shrink as it cures, and if you fill it way too high with metal, you'll get metal poking out the top. Again, that's not a big deal unless people are going to handle the pieces. You don't want sharp bits of metal. I'll show you what I do when I have a piece that has sharp bits of metal over the top. It's a simple matter of recoat. I'll upload a vid on that. So never do this inside, preferably outside with a little bit of wind. If you're really sensible, you'll wear a mask, a gas mask or something. I use a little kebab holder stick to just give it a little poke, get air bubbles out, pat down any metal. If you get resin on your hands, it does wash off, but you have to wash it quite a lot. So you want to be careful with this stuff. I haven't yet had a major spillage incident, but I'm sure the day will come. You leave these to set overnight. They will cure faster if you put them in direct sunlight. Otherwise, I just leave them alone overnight. Again, outside, so that they'll degas. This is from the green tin at Bunnings, this stuff. Pure fiberglass. I've got him out here defuming it. I leave him outside for a week before I'm comfortable being around him. The blue tin stuff, not as noxious. And yep, nice new tray, so they just slip right out. Copper, brass, aluminum pieces there. Now they're ready to be buried in the ground within a couple of 100 meters of these mind control towers. Melburnians, you need to start doing this. We only need a couple of you to start doing this. And you will be surprised at the impact this has on your mind-controlled police force. So that's how you make. I'm happy to sell you some so you can start gifting Melbourne. Victoria in particular seems to need some. Otherwise, I'll answer any questions about how to make. Just use quartz crystals. Don't get fancy with the crystals like these people who just make it to make money. They don't make it properly. They use epoxy resin. Epoxy is not a good resin choice. It doesn't squeeze hard enough in the crystal. You want a real hard squeeze in that crystal. That generates piezoelectricity. That pushes the orgone out into the atmosphere. The orgone itself is created or reordered by the mix of inorganic and organic. 50-50 approximate mix. Etheric energy, life energy, chi is pulled into organic matter. It's pulled into our bodies and other organic matter. The resin is made from oil, which is organic matter. The metal repels it. So if you didn't have a crystal in the piece, it would still be making orgone. It would just be a very background process. The quartz crystal, a clear quartz crystal, makes it supercharged and pushes it far out into the atmosphere. It makes it a real constant generator and converter of negative and neutral etheric energy into positive. Dark tech, dark entities cannot stand being around it, and it messes with their mind control. It clears up chemtrails. It's a good defense against gang stalking. It's got 100 other uses too. We don't get chemtrails in my skies anymore because I've got a lot of these pucks all over the place. Alright, any questions, fire away. And if you want to buy some pieces off me, feel free to drop me a message at the email provided in the description box. Have a good one, guys.